Welcome to At the Table podcast, a virtual table where we discuss all things young adulting. I am your host, Fikayo, and thank you so much for having me in your ears. Okay, so lately I have been thinking about this weird kind of pressure that comes with being in your 20s, that constant feeling that you're supposed to be somewhere, you're supposed to be doing something, almost like everyone's kind of in an invisible race. And sometimes it can feel like, I guess, you missed the starting gun. And you guys, if you're in your 20s, maybe even in your teens, and maybe even older, to be honest, you probably know what I mean. Like, I have one friend that's getting married. I have another that just bought a house. I have someone that's posting on LinkedIn about their job promotion. And I sometimes feel like I am just trying to keep my plants alive and remember what day it is and remember to eat. And it's funny, but it can also be heavy sometimes because no matter how grounded you are or how grateful you're trying to be, sometimes there's always that whisper like that you could go further. Am I the only one that feels that, or can you guys relate? Maybe I've just been in my mind, but I have just been sitting with this thought that maybe I'm not behind. I'm just building. I guess the part that no one really talks about is how hard it is to be in a season that doesn't look finished yet. Like, you're working, you're studying, you're praying, you're trying to make sense of it all, but the results sometimes just aren't visible yet. And if you're anything like me, you start thinking, okay, God, like, am I doing the right things? Why doesn't it feel like I'm moving? Why can't I see the yield of my crop yet? But I always have to remind myself that no, I am moving. And sometimes, even if they're little steps, they're still steps nonetheless. And sometimes it's not loud, sometimes it's quiet, sometimes even just that whisper is just enough. And I guess that's when I realized that no, I'm not behind, I'm building. And that concept is just so beautiful because building takes time. It takes time to find the land, right? It takes time to even just make sure that the land is good, that the land can hold the weight of a house. And then you start bringing in the concrete, you start bringing in the soil, you start bringing in the sand to begin to build that foundation. And then you start bringing in like the wood and everything. And then they start building on top of it. And maybe I'm just somewhere near the beginning that doesn't look like a finished product. And I wonder if anyone else feels like that as well. And again, I always have to remind myself, I am still very young. And I know that people say life is short, but I genuinely believe that there's a lot of time between life. And although we know that life is short, there's a lot of things that you get to do within your life. And a lot of seasons tend to change and things look differently. And sometimes building for people also looks differently in whatever season that you're in. And for some people, it's a career. For others, it's healing. And right now, for me, it is stability. It is peace. And it's trying to build a life that feels like mine. I came across this quote that says, "You are exactly where you need to be, even if it doesn't feel like it yet." Another quote, "You don't need to know the way, your feet knows the way, or the way knows the way. You don't need to know the way knows the way." And then even in the Bible, it tells us not to worry, it tells us not to fret, that God knows the way. So these kind of quotes I try to keep around me because they stop me. But I think it's easier to believe all of those quotes in hindsight when things finally work out. But I think it's believing in the middle that's the real work. A few weeks ago, I was talking to a friend of mine, and we're both 25. And I don't know, she said something to me that stuck with me. And she said that, honestly, I thought 25 would feel different. That she thought that when she got to 25, she'd feel like she was settled. And I laughed because, LOL, honestly, the same. I thought that I'd probably be married with 4 kids at 25. And Obviously, that's not the case. I am sitting in my apartment right now trying to figure out what I'm going to eat for lunch, and it's probably going to be ramen, and that's okay. But the point is, it made me realize that no matter where you are, there's always another version of figuring it out. Um, and whether it's trying to figure out, what school I'm going to put my kids in or eating ramen, it's okay. Irrespective of what my reality today is, at every point of your life, you will always be trying to figure something out. And it made me realize that we are all really just trying to make sense of our lives, just in different stages. So if you feel like you're behind, maybe it's not a delay. Maybe it's development. Maybe you are learning, you're layering, and you are building the kind of foundation that doesn't crumble after pressure. That's at least what I tell myself right now. Because in this season, I'm getting to know myself much, much better. I'm building capacity. I'm becoming more patient. I'm becoming more hardworking. And I am becoming more intentional. And I'm starting to love the woman that I am. And there's an honor in this moment. There's a beauty in this moment. There's a love in this moment that I wouldn't trade for the world. And I guess my thoughts started changing when I started reframing the process for myself. Like, instead of asking myself, why am I not there yet? I ask myself, what am I building now? And sometimes the answer isn't like huge. It's not flamboyant. It's discipline. It's self-control. It's learning how to manage your emotions, stay consistent even when it's boring. And for me, that's the real progress. I think a lot of us underestimate how much and how quickly growth happens. You can't see it in the pictures, and sometimes you can't really even track it, but it is happening. And if I'm being honest, I think the slow seasons are the most sacred ones because they're the ones where your character gets to catch up to your calling. I saw something once that also said, becoming takes time, and time is building you too. And that line has been sitting with me because I don't want to rush what's meant to be built well. I don't want success in what is unsustainable. I want a life that is layered. I want a life that's beautiful. I want something that is built piece by piece with intention. And if that means taking time, I think I'm okay with that. So maybe this week you ask yourself, what am I building that no one else can see yet? Because you are not stuck. You are under construction. And one day, everything that feels uncertain right now is going to make sense. And you'll look back and realize that you weren't behind. You were building something that mattered. I think a lot about 18-year-old me. I had no idea where I was going. I had no idea what I was doing. And I was scared. And I was also just like, situations and times were just a little tougher then. And I think looking back now, I'm amazed at how resilient that time made me become, how brave it also made me, and also how hardworking. But like I mentioned earlier, sometimes you can only see those things in hindsight. Lessons are only learned in hindsight. Sometimes you have to take these moments and realize that maybe they're a lesson. Maybe they're developing. Maybe it's, a part of your developing. Maybe it's a part of your character building, right? And then maybe in 10 years from now, you'll look back at this time where you are today and be like, wow, that season really taught me a lot. That is all for me. I hope that this was able to inspire you. I hope this was also able to encourage you. You can always reach out to me at Fikayo on Instagram, Fikayo, or even better yet, you can post in the comment section wherever you're listening to me with. and we can start talking. Um, Remember, you are not behind, you are building. Okay? All right. Again, my name is Fikayo, and thank you so much for having me in your ears.